Duke continues its winning ways after a big 42-7 win over Lafayette, and we've got our reaction for you, the fans. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Josh Cox, Scott Medlin, and Jamie Holt. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Comfort Mechanical Contractors, Durham's premier commercial HVAC installation and service company. And fellas, as always, we got to hear from the man himself before we give our thoughts. One Mike Elko post-game after the big 42-7 win over the Leopards.
Lafayette, I thought they came in with a really good plan. I thought Coach Troxel had his guys well prepared. They played hard. They did a really good job of shortening the game and kind of milking the clock on offense and limiting the amount of possessions in the game. From our standpoint, I thought, offensively, I thought we came out and we did the things we wanted to do. We threw the ball well. We ran the ball well. Obviously, the turnover in the first half is going to be the one sore spot. But outside of that, I think for the better part of the game until the last one, they didn't really stop us. Defensively, I thought at times we were a little flat to start the game. I don't know what it was. We just didn't have an edge about us. We didn't communicate at a really high level. And then I thought we settled in, and then certainly in the second half came out and played defense the way we wanted to. And so just it's tough, right? When you come off of a short week like that and you got to prepare and you just got to go out there and you got to find a way to get a result. We were able to do that tonight, and so that was kind of the big emphasis. I told the guys we're going to always enjoy wins around here, and we're certainly going to enjoy this one. But we also know there's going to be some things to clean up for us to get where we want to go.
And again, that was head coach Mike Elko giving his thoughts post-game after the big 42-7 victory. And for the Blue Devils, fellas, they are currently on a 4-game winning streak that started back last year when they upset Wake Forest. And that continued on, beating UCF and then Clemson, and here we are. So
Wait. We upset Wake Forest? Come on. That wasn't an upset.
I mean, if we're looking at the stats, but that was last year. Let's focus about now.
Yeah.
Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
Screw Wake Forest.
Also, jinx much? Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Bro.
I know.
This guy hasn't missed a free throw in 17 straight attempts.
Blank.
It's the ninth inning, no hitter upcoming.
That's right, exactly.
But as I stated, this was an expected win for the Blue Devils playing FCS rival FCS. Yes, first time they played and they're already rivals, Lafayette. 42-7. We braved the elements. We braved the weather. We got poured on a couple of times. The fellas got poured on in the third quarter, not I. I was the smart one with the press pass. But all in all, it was a pretty good game. A slow start, I guess, just catching up from that Clemson win on Monday. But, guys, what are your thoughts as we head into next week with the win?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we didn't play the game Monday night, but, we were trying to figure out, what day it was. And, we were, getting over it. We took Tuesday. I think most of us, we may have all taken Tuesday off work even. Yep. And so at the end of the day, we were trying to figure out what day it was. I can only imagine the players. It probably took them all day Tuesday to still get over that win or try to reel, back from that win. And then Wednesday, I remember Coach Elko saying, I believe Thursday morning, they had to have kind of a come to Jesus meeting, with the team just to get them kind of refocused. And before you know it, it's game day again. And so, at the end of the day, we sat kind of as a program, I think, just trying to get through that first quarter. They played better. I'll be honest with you. I mean, from what we had seen stat wise, that quarterback had only thrown for 40 yards. And bro, there were a couple of times I'm like, how did he make that throw? He was rolling to his right, threw back to his left, hit this little tiny pocket that was open. He had a little Pat Mahomes in him or something, man. I don't know what happened, but anyway, but obviously Duke got on track, and then was able to get what I loved was able to get Henry Beelan in the game before it was crazy, as Coach Elko mentioned in his presser on Monday. Samir Hagans and Jordan Moore were still in the game. Nicky Dalmolin still in the game. Some of the ones on the offensive line still in the game. So Henry got to play with the ones instead of coming in with the 2 or 3 deep. And so I thought that was really good. And the defense, once again, held a team to just one score.
Yeah, really my only gripe was the weather. So I don't really know who I complain about for that, but
God.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm not gonna complain about the weather. But yeah, the defense was a little sluggish to start, but like Josh said, they only gave up 7 points. I mean, that's not bad when you look at it. But my only gripe really is not being able to get off the field on third down. There was a lot of bending, but not breaking. Uh, Offense looked really sharp. I thought Jordan Waters ran the ball really, really hard. I mean, he's been playing really well this year to start, anyways. But all in all, it was another great game. I don't really have much to say. Sorry, Lafayette. Uh, Congratulations. You didn't get beat by 42 like the Vegas odds said.
Those poor betters. Scott,
I would say people did lose their money. That's the funny part. But I mean, if you think about it like this, Lafayette came in my opinion, with the perfect plan. We always joke about in the second half that Duke's gonna, do the best he can to milk that clock. Well, that's exactly what they did. So sorry, I've never milked a cow before, but because that's what Duke did last Monday night against Clemson. The whole fourth quarter, they milked it as much as they possibly could. So you know, the fact that Mahomes Jr. was out there throwing the ball, I mean, one time I thought he was just going to throw it behind his back to somebody because that touchdown pass he threw, I don't know how he got it to the guy. That thing looked like it was destined to hit the 2 yard line and bounce. And somehow it skipped over the 2 yard line right to the dude's hands in the end zone. But other than that, I mean, I hated that we gave up a score because that was one of the things I was hoping that we would be able to shut those guys out. But all in all, it was a great chance for opportunity for younger guys to get out there, get an opportunity. If we have to give the keys to the car to Henry Beelan, definitely like what we saw and love the fact that they let him throw the ball down the field. And I mean, obviously, Jomo and him have a connection, which was great. So, that's what you're supposed to do when you play an FCS opponent.
And they were letting him
About
throw.
5 touchdowns.
Sorry, and they were letting him throw the ball down the field in poor conditions. Like
True.
which showed Kevin Johns really trusts Henry Beelan.
Yeah,
bearded.
I asked Coach that today, and I guess that was just part of the plan because it was raining. Shout out to the weather. Like I
God,
said, we braved it out. Yeah, shout out. We braved that, as did about 200 other fans, maybe. But that was fun. But yeah, I mean, they could have very easily brought Henry in the game in the third quarter and said, okay, we're going to run the ball. We're going to do read option the rest of the night, and probably scored a couple touchdowns, maybe won 28-7 instead of 42-7, slow the game down. But according to Coach, and I think what the plan was with Kevin Johns was like, no, we're going to put the pressure on Henry. Like, this is the time for him to really get his feet wet. And, knock on wood, but there could be a time this season, where, okay, even if something as small as Riley gets his helmet knocked off or something, he's got to come out for a play, like things like that. And like, if that happens, we know that we do not have to just line up and hand the ball off to a running back. And so I thought that was good. What are some other players, guys, that we in that two deep, and maybe down to the three deep, some guys that it was good to see play this past Saturday.
Peyton Jones. I think we talked about that last weekend, how we were somewhat surprised he did not line up in the backfield against Clemson because of what we've seen in spring and fall ball. He got some action behind Jordan Waters, who, by the way, had a record day. First time, I believe, in his Duke career, he went over 100 yards. Helmet sticker coming out soon. But it was good to see Peyton in the backfield. I think he returned some kicks during the Clemson game. So he's seen actions. So that's 2 games in a row. And Coach even alluded to it before the season started. There was, I believe, a 99.9% chance that Peyton would not be redshirted.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to find ways to plug and play him each game, depending on what defense is shown from the opponent, which I love. But again, it was good to see him in the backfield. Grayson Loftus, we can't forget him. He got some action late in the game. One of the guys that we thought could produce if asked if something were to happen to Riley and Henry. He came in highly touted, so it was good to see him on the field. And let's be real, guys. We knew this was going to be the game where there were going to be players on the field who probably won't see much of the field for the rest of the year with our schedule. Because typically with a non-conference slate, you have 2 games that are pretty easy mostly winnable. This gives a chance for some of your guys to get on the field and get some of that action. But with the schedule that we have moving forward, it's going to be tough for some of these guys to see action for the rest of the year.
I mean, yeah, until we play that easy conference game there in Charlottesville against Tony Elliott and UVA.
And no, Mike Elko is not available to be your defensive
That's
coordinator.
right. Even
Sorry,
though
Tony.
you would consider him, he's not available. But no, I thought a couple of interesting things. Jake Taylor, who was a tight end, Coach Elko said today on Monday that they've moved him to wide receiver. That is a move. So he is over there at wide receiver. We also saw Jeremiah Hazley look like, now I'm just going to say this, looked like he took over that number 2 tight end spot. Cole Finney was not injured. Cole Finney did come in and play some, but Jeremiah Hazley was the number 2 tight end, no question. And then another move that's been made, Travis Bates, they said was not 100%, even though he did play a little bit. And so Karan Boyd, a true freshman, moved over to running back and was in the fourth quarter and looked pretty good running the football there. And so I thought it was neat to see that. Then on the defensive side, we were able to see Plasad Ungu. I forget how you say his name. Shout out to him, by the way. He was on punt coverage, and Jalen was telling people to get away from the football, and he started yelling at him, and he took off like in a full sprint across
hilarious.
the field to
It
the
was
sideline.
hilarious.
It was hilarious. But it was good to see him out there. Cam Bergeron got some time there at nickel in place of BJ, and yeah, I thought that was good. Any other players, James, that you can think of?
Not really. Y'all pretty much mentioned them all that I was thinking about. But I will say in Coach Elko's press conference, he even mentioned the defensive side of the ball that they would have liked to have seen even more guys get in. But the way the game went and the way Duke was able to really kill the clock, especially in the third and fourth quarters, they weren't able to really rotate guys in as much as they would have liked.
I thought it was good to see some of the offensive linemen get in, especially with Justin Pickett getting hurt. And we were not sure what happened about that, but he sprained his elbow. So that may be a game or so, or who knows, he may bounce back. But I thought it was good to see like Mekhi Wall out there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the wide receivers that got out there earlier than I thought they would get out there, but they were out there, and they were key points to the game. It's not like it was 42-7 at the time. I mean, we're talking it was 14-7, and these guys are out there getting run. So it's a good chance. I mean, Duke has lived upon the next man up philosophy. That's what they've done ever since Coach Elko's gotten here. And the fact that we're able to put people out there on the field to learn on the game day opportunities is great.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting in the second half. Coach gave Choo Choo Charlie a breather, and Ryan Degayansky, freshman, place kicker, number 48.
What you need to do the pronunciations for GoDuke.com, Josh. You're doing a fantastic
Thank
job
you.
with these players' pronunciations.
I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Degayansky. Degansky. Anyway, we'll ask Kat. We'll figure out what his name is. But he was 48. He got the ball. I mean, honestly, he doesn't have quite the leg that Charlie does, but did fairly well on kickoffs. So that's a small thing. But it was that was cool too. So yeah, all in all, Duke was able to do exactly what we hoped they were able to do, and that was to just play through that 2 deep down to the 3 deep and even 4 deep in some areas throughout that game. And so ultimately, it was kind of a boring win in a way.
No, don't say that.
Sorry,
a win's a win.
But it was boring.
Yeah.
But it's all good. And also, I think we have to mention this because there's nothing that's been said about it. I mean, Riley did seem to be favoring his left arm. In some way, I saw someone tweet that maybe he got stepped on by a cleat or something like that.
Cleated. Yep.
So that's potentially what happened. But it just so happened that was when they brought Henry in on the next drive, and so whatever it was, I'm sure Riley would be fine. But I mean, I just did want to mention that at least.
Yeah, it looked like he was ready to go back in, but they held him back. He just came off. He was favoring his left arm.
He did look funky though, making a couple of the passes afterwards, and it was interesting because either the exactly next play or 2 plays later, he had to scramble and ended up landing on that arm again. So it was interesting to see that happen, and I don't think it was anything crazy. So that's always good news. But one other thing, real fast, and I don't think we haven't mentioned this. And 0 sacks in the first 2 games.
Only
Riley
one,
has barely been touched.
only one of 7 NCAA schools to still have that mark. So
And
again,
the
Duke's doing
fact
well.
that the quarterbacks went perfect, except for the one clock of play. I mean, I don't care who you're playing. That is unbelievable. And the fact that we were able to keep both quarterbacks up, all 3 quarterbacks upright, and no sacks, and it's an unbelievable thing. Even when you're playing Clemson, who's supposed to be, and then the FCS team Lafayette, that's unbelievable stats.
Yeah, I
Yes,
thought it was that 20 for 20 is incredible. I mean, like you said, Scott, does not matter who you're playing. If you're playing football on a FCS, FBS level, it doesn't matter. And you go 100% with 2 different quarterbacks, 20 passes. That's pretty incredible. It's also a little tidbit that I didn't know that clocking it does not count against your personal stat.
I
It's a
was
team
wondering
stat.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so that's really cool. That's really
There,
cool.
there were a couple of times, I think, in the first half that Riley maybe was able to fall forward for about 2 or 3 yards to escape some sacks, but for the most part, offensive line, he didn't have to really do anything.
Okay, so that was addressed, and Coach Elko mentioned that. He said, "Listen, like we're cool with that. We would much rather it be 2nd and 7 than 2nd and 12." And he's like, Riley's pocket presence is just on another level this year. Like he just knows when he needs to get out of there or when he needs to throw it away. And he's like, 2nd and 10 is better than 2nd and 18. 2nd and 7 is better than 2nd and 10. He's like, he just knows right now. He's just playing on that level of like he knows when to kind of dive forward. He knows when to throw it, and his pocket presence just kind of improved drastically. So, yeah, for sure.
well, we got to move on, fellas. Got another game this Saturday, 3:30 ACC Network against a pretty familiar foe, a team that Duke has played the last 3 years, and they're going to be playing this team again next year for the final time for the foreseeable future in Evanston, Illinois. Of course, I'm talking about the Northwestern Wildcats. And Josh had the opportunity to sit down with a buddy of ours, good old Dave Innett, play-by-play for the Northwestern Wildcats. Dave will be here this Saturday, so we hope to catch up with him if possible. But here's Josh's interview with Dave.
And we're here with WGN Radio's Dave Innett, who is also the play-by-play man for the Northwestern Wildcats. And as you know, Duke will be hosting Northwestern this coming Saturday at Wallace Wade Stadium. Dave, I really appreciate you taking some time and coming on with us today.
Good being with you again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, it's been a lot of things that have happened, since the last time we've spoken. But this Northwestern team comes into Durham 1-1, and so far, what's your overall takeaway from this team? Seeing that the loss to Rutgers, but then bouncing back this past weekend with that home win over UTEP.
Well, I don't think we really knew what to expect on the field going into the season, given all the changes and a new head coach, a first-time head coach, and obviously a different guy behind center to start the season. A lot of changes, and they didn't play well against Rutgers. I think Rutgers may be a little better than they've been. I think that maybe the emotion of the offseason took a little bit of a toll on this team going into that. But they certainly bounced back well against UTEP. Now, again, I don't think UTEP is as good a team as Rutgers is, and nowhere near as good a team as Duke is. But I do think that in terms of giving this team something to build on, giving them some confidence, getting some guys into the mix who didn't have a lot to say in the outcome of the game against Rutgers. I think it was an important win for them, and I think they're feeling pretty good about themselves. And look, they know what they're walking into. I mean, everybody watched the Duke Clemson game, and everybody knows this is a really good Duke team, and it's a step up in class for them. So I'm really interested to see how they perform. I mean, I think this has been over the years a pretty good rivalry. Duke's had the upper hand last few years, but even last year, the game at Evanston, the Wildcats were coming back after being down 21-0. So we'll see what they do. They kind of go into it with not a whole lot to lose, I think.
Listen, we definitely remember that game. I mean, had it not been for that fumble getting punched out of the 1 yard line, that may have been a different outcome. So,
No
you
doubt.
know, definitely. And I get what you're saying too. After the first 2 weeks of the season, you really are still unsure on who is good and who's not good. And so you're trying to figure out was that I mean, you can even take crazy as it sounds, you can take the Duke Clemson game. You can fast forward 8 weeks from now, depending on what Clemson's record is. That game, you know what I mean. You can look back at that game differently, and so we don't know yet, and that's a great point because we're still figuring it out, right, week by week. So
Yeah,
you mentioned, go ahead.
it's just that time of year, right? And I think there are a lot of teams after this past Sunday's games in the NFL who are trying to figure out, well, are the Packers really that much better than the
Yeah.
Bears? That's the question everybody in Chicago here is asking today.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I was thinking about the same thing with the Giants and
The
the
Cowboys,
Cowboys. And the
yeah,
Cowboys really that good, or the Giants really that bad? What about the Steelers? You're exactly right. So I guess
right,
it's football in general.
yep.
But yeah, you mentioned earlier briefly David Braun taking over interim head coach. How does he seem to be settling in to his new role, kind of thrust in that position?
Well, really impressively, and it's a obviously very tough situation for him, and has never been a head coach. He was hired by Pat Fitzgerald as defensive coordinator back in January, and then after they took the coaching reins away from Pat, they elevated David to interim head coach, and he's a young guy who's new to the program and he's new to being the head coach. And on top of that, Josh, he is serving as defensive coordinator. So he's calling the defensive plays as well as wearing the head coaching headset for the first time. And we walked onto the field in Piscataway a couple Sundays ago on Labor Day weekend. I was like, this guy's head has absolutely got to be swimming right now. I can't imagine it. And yet he seems very calm. He seems relaxed about the role. I think he's excited to have the opportunity. And, he's a very upbeat guy. And that's the thing that's really struck me about him. Things didn't go great against Rutgers, obviously, but he stayed the course. And he's really a very selfless guy in terms, and a lot of coaches are this way, but I think sometimes you can kind of tell there might be a little bit of disingenuousness to it. He seems very sincere. He was really emotional and really happy for the players, given what they've been through, given the fact that these guys stuck it out when they had the opportunity to go elsewhere.
That is a perfect segue. I did not give you the questions ahead of time, but that's a perfect segue. Um, you know, with the transition in coaching, kind of late, and the timing there was not ideal for the program. You did lose some guys in the portal. Obviously, you're going to lose guys in the portal pretty much every year anyway. But then there were some late guys. How has that affected the team as far as depth and just kind of a gut punch there leading into the season?
Well, I'm sure from a depth standpoint, yes, it definitely affected them. But they didn't lose a whole lot of guys who have played for them before, and I think that's significant. The one guy they lost, the one starter they lost, was Jeremiah Lewis,
Yeah, thank you.
and you know what, and that's a significant one, no doubt. But to me, the idea that you would be able to keep 21 out of 22 starters in that kind of situation when I think most people were expecting there to be a whole scale exodus, and maybe there still will be. But I give David a lot of credit and his staff for keeping the guys who were there, who were getting them excited to play the season. For maybe it's him, maybe it's the university. Maybe guys want to get their Northwestern degree and then go on, or maybe some of them have it, but they want to kind of stay the course and finish the job and then get on with their lives. I think there could be a lot of factors, but whatever the case, I think there was a lot of doom predicted in terms of guys going into the portal. Some freshmen did who hadn't seen the field yet. That's really where they got hit a little bit, and certainly from a decommitment standpoint, they had some guys in their recruiting class who decided to reopen their commitments. But really, I think all things considered, David has really done under the circumstances, a really good job, and he certainly had them ready to play on Saturday against UTEP.
Yeah, for sure. Well, are you making the trip down to Durham this Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so unrelated to football, are you going to get here in time to get some authentic barbecue, or what's the plan?
Well, I'm sure we will. I'll travel with the team, and we'll come in on Friday afternoon.
All right.
I've made the trip many times there. I mean, we've played on a pretty regular basis
Yeah.
since the mid '90s, and this current series, and we've played last every other year down there, and I love coming down. It's always a great trip, and I'm glad that this time we're coming down. We made a few trips in the past where it was right in the throes of a hurricane, and I think the forecast is pretty good. It's also not
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
be as blistering hot this weekend as it's been a few other times we've come down. So yeah, I'll definitely check out some of the local cuisine. No doubt about that, Josh.
Nice, nice. Well, hit us up if you need some suggestions. But yeah, you're bringing down some cool weather with you, and so I think it's supposed to be in the high 70s, maybe even on Saturday when we kick off, which will be incredible. So
No
uh,
complaints about that.
for sure. Well, transitioning, looking ahead now to the matchup in Wallace Wade Stadium this Saturday, 3:30 start time. I'm going to ask you just kind of four questions about this game in particular, and then we'll let you get out of here, Dave. So, first question: an area that this Wildcat team will excel at on the field this Saturday is what?
Uh, I think an area in which they will excel is special teams. I think they're kind of getting better in that area, so from what I've seen so far. They have a first year kicker. They got a guy who's handling the punting chores now who split the job last year. They had a new kickoff man on Saturday. And I think their kick coverage has been good. And what I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I think most people who follow the program are anxious to see, is can they get AJ Henning involved in the return game? Henning is the wide receiver, kick returner from Michigan who transferred to Northwestern last offseason, and one of the best punt return men in the Big Ten, if not the nation. And they haven't really been able to spring him yet for a long return. And I know that in the past, when Northwestern and Duke have played, kick returns have been a big part of it. And Northwestern's had some success in that area. A guy named Solomon Vault, I remember returning a kickoff at Wallace Wade Stadium, the second half kickoff several years ago in a game the Cats went on to win. So I think that's an area in which I think Northwestern will excel.
Awesome, awesome. Well, um, speaking maybe more specifically on players now, Duke fans need to watch out for who on that Northwestern roster Saturday. Maybe a player that we wouldn't like obviously see looking at the stats from the first two games. Who
I,
do Duke fans need to look out for?
I would say Bryce Gallagher, the middle linebacker. He's the captain of the defense. He had 19 tackles in the game against Rutgers, a career high. He's a guy who's really leading that defense. He's sort of the heart and soul of it, and made a ton of plays once again on Saturday against UTEP. Got an interception, and I think that he's the guy number 32. You'll see him in the middle of that defense. His brother Blake played for the Wildcats a few years ago. Probably would have played maybe not the last time we went down, but two times ago. And so I would say watch for the middle linebacker Bryce Gallagher.
All right, when you look at the Northwestern defense compared to Duke's offense, or vice versa, what do you think is going to be the key matchup, and who's going to win this game on Saturday?
The key matchup in the game, well, I would say it's going to be Northwestern's ability to run the football against Duke, and last year Duke ran the ball really well in the win in Evanston, ran for over 200 yards, and had all three backs, the top backs, heavily involved in that game. All those guys are back, right? But Northwestern, I think, is showing signs they're going to be able to run the ball. They only had 12 yards rushing against Rutgers, but then they bounced back this past weekend. And Cam Porter, a guy who was a key factor when they won the Big Ten West in 2020, then got hurt preseason of 21, missed the entire year, came back last year, looks much like he did now in 2020. and a guy who is strong, powerful, has moves, good quickness, and then a couple of young guys, namely Joseph Hyman II. He's the guy who sprung an 85-yard screen pass for a touchdown. And if you go back and watch the play on Saturday, he just ran away from everybody, and the defensive backs for UTEP had the angle on him, and he just outran them. So I would say Northwestern's ability to run the football against Duke's defense is going to be critical for Northwestern to win this game. Look, Northwestern's a big underdog, and I think everybody expects Duke to win. I just think Northwestern's ability to move the ball, I think they have some continuity, consistency this year at the quarterback position. Couple that with a running game, and I think they'll be able to hang in there against Duke.
Yeah, I think that line, I think it started at 18 and a half. It may have even bumped up a little bit. I think that's a little that's a little aggressive. Consider once again, I think we overreact a little bit as we talked about before to the first 2 weeks sometimes. But this is not one of my questions that I written down. I'm done with my regular questions. I just want to verify that Evan Hull is not on this roster. He will not be running the football, and he will not be catching wheel routes out of the backfield on
No,
Saturday.
as a matter of fact, Evan was on the field for the Indianapolis Colts on
Yeah.
Sunday, and so I don't think you have to worry
Hey,
about seeing Evan Hall again.
with a former Duke guy, Deion Jackson, former running back
That's
for
right.
Duke, is
Yep.
out there as well. So those guys are teaming up now. But Dave, listen, I really appreciate you coming on for a few minutes. We really always enjoy talking to you. Hope you guys have a safe trip down and an enjoyable time when you come to Durham this weekend.
Always do. Thank you, Josh. Good being with you.
All right, have a good one, man.
Thank you. You too.
And again, our thanks to Dave Innett for coming on. It's been a pleasure getting to know Dave these last few years. And again, as I stated before the interview started, this will be the second to last time the Blue Devils and the Wildcats will play in the foreseeable future. Again, Duke heading up north to Evanston, Illinois next year. But always a good time with Dave, Josh, and thank you for being able to sit down and speak with him about all things Northwestern.
Yeah, for sure. And when we do these interviews, this is brought to you by DurhamDevilsClub.com. If you're interested in being a part of the Duke football program behind the scenes, supporting Duke's version of the NIL Collective, getting some insider access. For instance, we've sat down with Coach Mike Elko and previewed every game on the schedule. We sat down with quarterback Riley Leonard. We're sitting down as of now, today, with Dwayne Carter, and we'll be releasing that. Those are only available behind that paywall. You got to be at the $25 blue and white club level or above. But this is something that's very important, Duke fans, to be a part of. Duke cannot fall behind in the NIL space. And so DurhamDevilsClub.com. Check it out. If you have any questions, DM us. We'll get you to the right people. We appreciate their partnership for sure.
All right, now it's time for one of our favorite segments. It's been going on now for a year. I'm glad. Who brought it up? I don't even know who suggested it. Was it you, Jamie? I mean, you are the reader of the questions.
I think I did. I'm not sure.
Let's
I
give
can't
credit.
remember.
Let's give Jamie credit for it.
I mean, he's a champion with predictions. He comes up with the mailbag. I mean,
Yeah.
what does the man
Yeah.
not do other than live in Raleigh? He's
Yeah.
in Holden Beach all the time.
What does he not do other than not go to work?
Yeah.
Other than walk upright, I don't do that.
Yeah. So actually, this is great because not that we do this, but like typically mailbags on podcasts are when you don't have anything to plan, and you're like, oh crap, let me just do mailbags, and that'll take up a lot of time. But you guys do help us, by the way. Everyone that sends in a question, and Jamie does a good job. Honestly, we're not able to get to every one of them because it's gotten popular, and so many of you give stuff. So
Are you sure about that?
yeah, Brian gets annoyed, by the way. Brian's the angry one of the four.
All right.
So.
Question number 38 comes to. All right, Jamie. Let's get rolling. Let's get to the mailbag questions for this week.
All right, I'm gonna start us off on Facebook, and Levi Haynes comes out swinging for the fences on this one.
Oh boy,
like it was rough. He says, "Duke fans, what are we doing leaving early?" So he calls the fans out right out of the gate. I love it. I love
With the monsoon to hit.
Yeah.
It's so good. It is so good. That's a great question, Levi. Where's your dedication? Listen, all 700 of you that were at the game anyway, 500 of you left when the storm hit, and not us.
No.
Not us. Shout out to, let's see, it was us three. It was Scott, Jamie, me, John Martin. Shout out to John, Trent Pace, Andrew Stallings, and his dad John. We all did, and then the Cam Dillon's family was
Yeah.
behind us. They stuck it out too. So
Hey,
And
let's
hey, I have the
talk.
world's most giant poncho, so I was good.
Yes,
Let-
those were
Can
nice.
can we talk pregame though? What I went through to try to get to the hard hat guys tailgate.
That was poor
Brian's
timing there, Josh.
busting a
Yes.
scooter out
Let's
in
hear
the
this
rain.
story.
All right, story time. So I work media, and for those of you who know the Duke campus, media parks in the Science Drive parking deck. Well, it was beginning to rain, and I said to myself, you know what? I see all these scooters all around campus. I'm just going to hop on a scooter and just book my way across campus to the hard hat guys tailgate. Well, I didn't realize that this company that has the scooters, they have restricted areas. So I'm going straight towards Wallace Wade, and this scooter starts beeping at me like it's about to explode. I was in a restricted area. Scooter cuts off, so I had to stop. I had to Back to the Future, like walk next to it until I got out of the restricted zone. I had to go all the way down. Was it Wanamaker Drive to another drive? I was. If you had seen my shorts, it looked like I had just jumped into a swimming pool. So not the best decision. Rain 1, Brian 0.
Hey, look,
Yeah, we were waiting for him to come, like in Dumb and Dumber when they're on the scooter and the scooter's like buckling underneath them. We were waiting on Brian to show up at the tailgate like that.
hey, I
Didn't happen.
heard a real funny one about the rain. A buddy of mine that I work with, he was there, and him and his dad moved up to the under the overhang. He said there was two guys down there in just shirts and shorts, and that was it. And they were just sitting there with the monsoon coming down on their head. Did not move. Did not seem like it phased them at all.
I love it. Well, we're off to a good rough start here with the first question.
I hate-
Brian's gonna be angry by the time
and
this is over.
And this one is coming. This one is coming for the fans again. This next one.
Oh,
It's
man.
it's a little bit different though. So we've run into this problem, and we saw it under Coach Cutcliffe when he was winning big at Duke. Justin Hillard asked, "What does it take to pack Wally Wade? It's hard to get excited in an empty stadium. Could that be why the team came out a little flat Saturday?"
No.
And we've
No,
seen
it's the
we've
Clemson
seen
game.
Yeah, it was the Clemson game that had the team come out flat, but we've seen how it is a struggle to pack Wallace Wade. I mean, it really is.
Even when we play Chapel Hill College, it's
Yeah.
a struggle at times.
I mean, do you want the honest answer? There's not that
That's
many
what people
local
wanna
Duke
hear.
fans. There's
Yeah.
not that many local Duke fans.
That's why
Like-
we said to go after the transplants. You got to go
Correct.
after the
No.
transplants.
There are local Duke fans, but they're a fan of the round ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
What is-
and
what
look,
is that sport?
and calling out Duke a little bit here. If you
Tennis.
don't have a parking pass, you got to walk a daggone country mile to get to the stadium from the parking areas. They don't have any shuttle services unless you park in the H lots. They don't make it easy. Nothing is easy about coming to a game at Duke unless you have a parking pass. And you have to be an Iron Duke
Who's the angry one now?
to get a parking
Who's
pass.
the
So-
angry one
no,
now?
I'm just being honest. So that's why people don't come. And honestly, we can say if they win, they'll come. If you actually look at the attendance numbers in 2013 to 2015, in 2 years of winning, I think it went up 1,200. That's all. It went up from like 25,000 to like 26,200 or something in those 2 years. And so at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a new wave of Duke fans. We've talked to the players and to the team about this. Like, it's going to have to be like organic growth. It's going to have to be them going to the schools, going to these charity events, getting to know people on a personal level, and then them wanting to go in return, becoming Duke fans and going to games. That's what it's going to take.
All right. Next question comes from our guy Kelly Rowe, all the way down in Wilmington, North Carolina. 2 games into the season with Northwestern on the horizon, what has stood out the most to us on the offensive and defensive side of the ball?
0
Off.
sacks.
Yeah, that's one.
0
Yeah.
sacks.
That's a huge number. I mean, what did we already say? It was like 7 teams, right, Brian?
Yep.
Did you say that?
7. Yep. There's only 7 teams with no sacks allowed. Yep.
Seven-
Offensive line
7
for
in
sure.
the whole country. Yep.
On the defensive side, I would say the secondary, man. I would say like these. I think Al
Yes,
Miles
secondary.
and Jeremiah Lewis.
And I would add on the offensive side, I would add Jordan Waters. I mean, he's averaging 8 yards a carry currently, and he's already got 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's really been playing well.
Speaking of
You-
the secondary, shout out to Josh Pickett. Pickett picked it. First career interception, our guy Josh. So
So far, we've hit 3 of the helmet stickers that you'll read about
Hmm.
here in the coming hours and days on those
yeah, helmet
websites.
stickers are going to release Wednesday morning.
we love teasing people. No, but
That's
going
right.
back to Jeremiah, guys, think about it. If the things had not happened at Northwestern the way they did, he would be playing opposite of Duke this Saturday, which is crazy to think in the grand scheme of things, because everything that happened with Pat Fitzgerald happened in the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, he was
Yep.
able to transfer in because he was a graduate transfer.
Yep.
Because we talked
Yeah.
about this. If you were a normal transfer, unless it was an emergency situation or you were a
some
graduate,
special. Yeah,
you could go. But any other reason, you had to stay at the school that you were at.
So it actually worked out. I mean, Dave even mentioned when he was talking to Josh, they only lost one starter, being Jeremiah.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, hey, one
They
other
lost some
person-
other players, but they
Yeah.
were in the 2 deep.
I was
Yeah.
going to say one other person that was surprised so far because Lewis didn't play the other night. Terry Moore. He had
Yeah.
a great game
Yeah.
because that was his first opportunity to be there in a big time situation for more than 3 to 5 plays, and he really did a really good job.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Twitter. Sam at LA Dodgers all day.
There he is.
Sam.
Our weekly question.
Yep.
He wants to know, did I manage to stay upright all day? Because he was a little worried because of all the rain, But even though it's obvious from seeing my tweets and everything I put out on social media that rain is not necessary for me to get up and close and personal with the ground. So
Gravity 1, Jamie 0.
yeah.
Oxygen.
So I did manage to stay upright though. It was a little touch and go there.
You had
Like
some
maybe
times?
Yeah, maybe getting off the hard hats bus when we were sitting on there due to the lightning. Like I was,
Look.
who knows?
That one lightning strike or that one thunder clap,
Yeah.
what felt like it was over by my truck 10 feet away from the bus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
Jamie
pretty-
almost
that was
didn't make it.
serious.
Jamie has
Yeah.
weather updates that come to his phone, and Jamie got a weather update that said there is lightning 0.0 miles away from you.
We were
But he stayed upright.
yeah, we almost died. That's cool.
God
That-
1, Jamie 0.
And Sam says, as for Northwestern, what area do we expect to have the biggest advantage over them?
Oh, I'm going to come out on a limb and say once again secondary. I think our pass defense and our ability to get to the quarterback. RJ Oben, BJ got a sack in this last game. I believe we're going to be able. They're going to be able to maybe run the ball, which we may need to address that a little bit on the defensive side. Since not only did Patrick Mahomes evidently throw the football for them, but they had like LaDainian Tomlinson running it for him a little bit.
No. That dude was 4'11". I was
Barry
on the
Sanders.
field. Oh my
Darren
gosh!
Sproles.
I mean, we all on the field were just like, this dude is not. Well, I think 5'6" is what they put him down at. There's no way.
He had great vision. Like seriously, he was a good little running back. But all that to say, I believe we're going to be able to stop the passing game, and I think that's going to be our advantage, whether it's interceptions or whether it's just getting to the quarterback.
Really quick, I just found this. Northwestern is averaging giving up 190 yards in the air. Duke is at 150. As far as rushing yards allowed, Northwestern's only given up 113 to Duke's 170.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit
It's skewed with the
because
teams,
of
but
Clemson.
still.
Yeah.
Right.
They played
right.
Rutgers and UTEP.
Powerhouses.
Yes. Next.
Our guy Peter Dodge
The mass hole.
at PD Duke 85 wants to make sure everyone knows about the nice weather this weekend. Now we tweeted that from our account, so we just got that out there. It's going to be a beautiful weekend.
Just a reminder, folks.
Come on out, see some Duke football.
3:30 start. I mean, you don't have to get up early. You're going to get home at a decent time. It's going to be a great weather, sunny. I think it's fluctuated a little bit, but it's like I've seen in the high 70s, low 80s as the high.
And they are honoring the military this weekend, folks. So they usually have skydivers at halftime. It's a good show. Plus, if you know someone that's in the armed forces and they don't have anything to do, bring them out. Let them get honored.
For sure. Maybe this year, the people that are coming in from the sky will go to the right stadium.
Yeah.
What,
and not
what,
not
what
widing up
game
in
was
Chapel Hill.
that? Was a UNC game, wasn't it? Was it?
No,
Yeah.
it was a Duke
No.
game. They were supposed to land
Oh, that's
Duke-
right. That's right.
at
playing
UNC,
Central.
or Central. They landed at Duke, dude. That was hilarious. That
The
was
It
one of the
was
funniest things.
it was like so foggy that day, and I think the cloud ceiling was like super low, and like
yeah.
that
They
dude
probably
just
shouldn't have jumped,
he just
honestly.
picked
But
he just picked the stadium and
the
went to it.
the
Like
looks on people's faces was the best because it was
someone was punting, like they landed right beside the punter, and he was like looking like, "What the heck? What are you doing?"
well, and it was a night game too, if you recall,
mhm.
because all of a
It
sudden you
was the
see this.
6 o'clock game.
Yeah, you see this
was the first game of
parachute
the
coming
year.
in. All right,
right.
what's next?
We got a couple of defensive questions, so I kind of put them all together here. First with Drew Cheshire at Drew Chesh. Any concerns with the slow starts the defense has gotten off to?
No.
I mean, they're only giving up 2 touchdowns on the year, so
Yeah, 7 points.
All
a
right,
game.
let's walk through this. It's been 2 teams, right? Clemson, who was number 9. We expected the Clemson offense to do its thing. Duke's defense just bent; they didn't break.
mhm.
Then you have a 5-day, 6-day turnaround.
5-day.
5-day. It didn't matter what team Duke was going to play on the field this past Saturday. There was going to be a sluggish start. So no. Now, if this week there's another sluggish start, okay, maybe that's just something to where it's like a diesel engine. It just takes a little bit to get going, but once you get going, you'll be fine.
Well, we'll ask. Maybe we'll ask Dwayne that question for the Durham Devils Club podcast, and maybe
Little tease.
maybe the captain. Yeah, maybe the captain will
The
will
campaign.
give us some behind the scenes there. But I kind of agree with those guys. I do think, as Brian said, though, if this continues, it's got to be something that's addressed. These guys have got to come out with energy from the get go. We can't give up first quarter touchdowns. The entire season type of deal. But yeah, I'm not concerned yet.
All right. Adding to that, at TS Lester ask, are we concerned about the run defense? And then
In
then
general,
to add to that question, at FishFry02 ask, what are some adjustments we can make to stop the run? Because currently we're giving up 4.6 yards per attempt.
honestly, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was going to say, to me, Lafayette, we were without Dylan for the first half. That helps a little bit because he was going to be one of the starters. But, it's funny because I think we mentioned this while we were sitting there, Josh, that Duke ended up changing the alignment to a 5-2 as the game progressed in the first quarter because they were having so much success.
Good
They
adjustment.
brought in Ryan Smith or whoever to run the
Yeah,
fifth
it was
guy on
Ryan
the
Smith.
line.
Ryan Smith was the 5th lineman. Yep.
So, I mean,
And in the
Yeah,
second half, they really didn't. I feel like it's not like they got on our side of the field too much.
no.
Who were we missing the first half of Lafayette? Don't forget that too.
Yeah, Cam.
Cam Dillon.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
Scott
know.
mentioned it.
Just a reminder. I don't know how much of a difference it made, but not having Cam on the field could have been a difference as far as the start to Lafayette.
Yeah, I mean, and we got to watch it. I mean, Northwestern ran all over us last season. Of course, Evan Hall is no longer with them. But
God.
yeah, I mean, this is going to be a
Hallelujah.
one of those games where as Duke is heavily favored, we understand that. But it depends. Does Duke want to cover or does Duke want this game to be close? And our run defense is probably going to dictate whether or not we're going to cover or whether or not this game's going to be close.
All right. Moving on to another question from Levi. At
All right.
Levi Haynes 10. How about Henry?
That's how
Dillon?
old he is.
Yeah, he looks about that.
Is that how many questions he's going to ask?
He said, "How about Henry Beelan?" Of course, he was super impressive, and he asked, "Will we see him again this year?" And of course, my answer to that is probably not, unless Riley gets hit and has a helmet come off, or
Listen,
unfortunately
we're
gets
going to see
injured.
him in
We're
the
not gonna see-
Virginia game.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Virginia game.
I think we may see more than that, but yeah.
I think you might see him this Saturday, if I'm being completely honest.
Could happen.
if things go the way they should, yes, I agree with that 110%.
But here's another thing too that we have to be honest. Like last season, Riley literally did not get hurt, stayed on his feet, all that good stuff. But the way he plays the game, I mean, and I'm not saying nothing. I'm not trying to speak anything into existence here, but there's probably going to be a play where he gets popped, or he
Cleated.
gets the wind knocked out of him. Yeah, or something like that. And I'm not saying Henry's going to have to come in for extended period of time, but there's going to be a play or two where I think he's going to be needed. And if that play happens to be a big third and 6 or third and 10 or whatever, Henry's going to be called upon. And how about Henry Beelan? I mean, the fact that we did see that arm, he's got a live arm. What we didn't get to see necessarily is how good he can run.
Right.
I'm going to comp this. I mean, and I'm not saying he's on this level. I'm saying the style that he plays is Vince Youngie, kind of a Vince Young, kind of a Youngie. Yes, I went with Youngie. Youngish.
Odds.
But I see a lot of that Vince Young sort of play with him, and maybe a Duke comp, maybe like a Thomas Sirk with maybe a little bit better throwing arm. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm all about Henry.
And I think him and Jordan seem to have a pretty decent connection when he came in the game too. So I think we'd be in good hands if Henry comes in. But hopefully, we only see him, like when we play that FCS school up in Virginia.
I mean, I'd love to see.
Now, are we, Scott? Do you know how to get there?
We need directions.
We're about to have to bleep out a finger. He's
Scott's not even smiling, bro. Scott's not even smiling.
I know how to get there.
I mean, does Levi have another question, or is he done?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
At Big Papa RV, seems like we aren't taking many deep shots. Is that an OL issue, a personnel issue, or play calling?
Well, it was a God issue Saturday.
It's not the offensive line. I can tell you that they're given plenty of time.
It was almost funny though to me when Henry got in there. They went down the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this, and don't know the situation. I almost wonder when Lafayette saw Henry come in, they thought he was just going to turn around and hand the football off, and maybe that's why the defense was open up the way it was. But he hit Jordan that first pass on a nice little post about 25, 30 yards. And it's just like, but there was the safety wasn't over the top either. And we obviously talk about that constantly when we're sitting there watching the game. We see what's there. And now there's a chance for double moves, I think, almost every play with some of the receivers. So I'm just wondering if we're just trying to be conservative to waste time, or just it's going to get there when it gets there. But right now, when we're running the football down their throat and they can't stop it, why in the world would you want to throw the football?
And you're playing.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I was just saying, first game of the season, you're playing Clemson, and
that's what I was going to say.
The thing is, Clemson may not be as good as they have been in the last few years, but they still got guys that are going to be in the NFL on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that's tough sledding right there. Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget the new rule that's in place this year. The NCAA has modeled their time rule after the NFL to where the clock does not stop after a first down. It keeps running. And with our three-headed monster right now, with Jalen still not being able to suit up, just keep running the clock. Milk the cow, as Scott said earlier. So I don't think it's a concern. I think it's just you're playing the game that's presented in front of you and the opponent that you have.
I think what Jamie said. That's right. I think what Jamie said is important, to talk about. But the opponents, you've had a really strong opponent in Clemson that you're not just going to 5-step drop and stand in the backfield and put your quarterback at risk. And then the second one is that lesser opponent where you feel like you really can just line up and run the ball. And so to answer that question, I think we may see some more deep shots over this week and next week. So,
got him. I think I got myself.
38 minutes and 50 seconds is when Jamie lost it the first time.
It's the group chat. It's the group
text. I blame Scott on this one.
I was actually not a part of that one, guys. This is the first time. I caught it later. That's good.
All right. We're recording during the Bills and Jets game, and we're getting text that Aaron Rodgers went down with an injury. So Scott put it in the group text, wearing a boot is a Rodgers, so he sounds like Mario.
Wearing a boot. Wearing a boot is Rogers. That is so good.
It's a me, Mario.
Jeez. Yeah.
All right. Back on track. Let's get the train back on track.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
At the Duke of Cupa.
What?
That's what his.
Over. You
That's,
guys see that guy, Brian? The Duke of
that's what his
Cupa?
name is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
K-E-W-P-I-E.
God. Tyler's gonna have fun with this episode.
How many sacks does Duke give up against Northwestern? Of course, we know Duke has given up a big fat 0 on the year. So until
I'm
somebody
hoping
proves me
that
wrong,
will-
I'm saying 0.
Double zero.
I think
They're going to give up double zero.
there's a goose eggs everywhere.
That's right. Dun, 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 dun,
The mailbag has completely gone off the rails. Love it.
At Blade for Duke. Duke has consistently rotated players in both games so far this year. Which group has been the most impressive? And which group gives us the most concern? That's a great question.
That is
I got
good.
it. For me, most impressive D-line. Shout out Wesley Williams, Anthony Nelson, Ryan Smith, Aeneas Peebles. Let's just go on down the line. Aaron Hall, that two deep coming in behind VJ, behind RJ, behind Jamion, and behind Dwayne. So, to me, it's the D-line on the positive. What's the, I guess not negative per se, but is there a rotation that you guys see that we're a little bit maybe a little more skeptical about? Maybe the safeties. I mean, when you go away from Jalen Stinson, and there's nothing against these guys. When you go over from Jalen Stinson, you go to Isaiah Fisher-Smith. When you go away from Jeremiah Lewis, you go to Terry Moore. I don't know. And the only reason I say Terry Moore as a question mark there is because I feel like he's still getting up to speed.
Mhm.
I don't know. Any other spot that you guys can think of?
I mean, I said it
Not really.
earlier. Positive the running back room, because again, Jalen Coleman has not played the first 2 games. I don't think
Right.
we've gotten an answer, or has anyone asked Coach Elko?
Yeah, he got asked, and he just said it was something lingering from camp, and that
Okay.
he hopes that he'll be ready to go this week. He said the exact same thing last week. So
Right. So again, you've got Jordan Waters, you've got Jaquiz Moore, and then you've got Peyton Jones, who again showed that he can produce in the backfield. So yeah, I mean, I've said it from the get-go. I think the running back room is one of the most secure rooms that this Duke team has.
I like the O-line rotation. I like the fact that more guys are getting a chance to play big opportunities. Craycraft, Parker, those guys got in for some significant time in the third and fourth quarter. The other
And
night.
there's no drop. Yeah.
Hoytink or whatever his name is too.
And there was no drop off on that offensive line either.
No.
They're just mauling people out there. And the QB room. I mean, obviously, you're not going to play multiple guys, but look at last year where we were coming into the year not even hardly knowing who our starting quarterback is. We didn't know if Riley was going to be good or what was going to happen. And now we're in a very good position with our QB room.
And speaking of that, Jamie, I mean, I'm just rewinding a year. We moved Jomo to wide receiver. So our number 2 quarterback was Henry, who did not come in spring. He came in the fall camp. So we were running with that second string quarterback last year, being a true freshman, you know what I mean, who had not been there for spring. And so you're exactly right. I think that's a great improvement in the quarterback room.
At Vaden Alton and at Seth P _Johnson both wanted some injury updates, specifically about Coleman. So Josh, you just mentioned that. And Alton also asked about Pancole as well, but we know that he's going to be pretty much out for the year.
Probably the year. If he comes back, we have not been, full disclosure, we've not been told exactly what the injury was, but he's rolling around on the sideline on a scooter. And I don't know, maybe a bowl game. I have no idea, but evidently it was pretty bad.
Don't jinx it.
Doesn't look like Justin Pickett's injury was too terribly serious. Thank goodness.
Yeah, his was. So he had been battling some ankle stuff, and then what he hurt in this last game was upper body. It was like an arm elbow type.
Yeah,
deal.
and when when he walked by me, he had it and was not moving it. So I thought he had broken something, but thankfully it's just sprained.
And I wonder if Jeremiah Lewis, had it not been Lafayette, if he would have, played.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So we're recording this on Monday. He was a full go at practice today.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's. I want him to play because it's Northwestern. I think that'd be great.
Oh, he won't. He'll play. Like
He wants to play. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have to pull him off the field.
Yeah. At Sit NUOK. It was good to meet him at the game. He was one of the guys that got our free tickets. He came by and spoke to us. In Duke's 2 games this year, they have kind of been slow and methodical on offense. Is this to build confidence, or is this what we may see all year?
No, I'm going to go back to the earlier answer. I think it's the opponent. It's driven by the opponent and the weather. Obviously, we're going to run a little bit slower against Clemson. That's just the way it is. That's the way you have to do against a team like that. And then this past week, it was the weather combined with the fact that we knew we were going to outmatch them, and there's no reason to come out and try to, do that. I think we're going to really see in these next 2 weeks leading up to that Notre Dame game. So the home game at Northwestern and the away game at UConn. I think we're going to really see what we're going to try to be like on offense. We've not seen it yet.
That's the UConn game, I think, is the game that I'm going to pay the most attention to because it's the first true road game of the year. And with the way UConn was last year and the way they looked against State, they had a good first half against State. And then the second half, the wheels kind of fell off. But it's going to be interesting to see how Duke does against that UConn defense.
And that running back is really good.
Yes.
All right. At the Duke of Cupa, again, has another question. He asked about the status of Justin Pickett, which we spoke to that already. But then he said, what would we want to see if he's out for an extended period of time? Who steps up?
Scott Elliott. That's what we've seen. It's been Scott Elliott. So it's Elliott at center. And then you've got Hornerbrook and Graham on the outside. And you got Monk and McIntyre as your guards. That's what you'll see moving forward if Pickett's not in there. If you do see Pickett, they can do whatever they want. But it seems like they might move Monk back to center and then, move Pickett back to that one of those guard positions, which I believe right guard is kind of where he played some. So.
All right. At Bleed Blue _24. And I think we can all agree on this. Does Duke have one of the better offensive lines in the nation? To that, I would say absolutely.
I would say let's wait 2 more games.
So far.
Yeah, so far. But let's get through a Big Ten school. And then what conference is –
They're independent.
That's
UConn,
right.
No, UConn's in the Big 12?
AAC?
The AAC, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I say let's get a few more games under our belt and against some better defenses and see what happens. But, yeah, as of right now, 2 games in, yes, one of the best O-lines.
At Regina Lee _LA. What are some of the key areas that could be improved on or areas that coaches would want improved?
Yeah.
Run defense, getting off the field on third down are the 2 things that jump off the
How about
me.
the defense starting off better as a whole to start the game? We discussed it earlier. I think that's one of the big things. Offense has been great. Defense, the first 2 games, kind of a slow start. But they've made the adjustments and
it's only 7 points, so it's like
right.
Yeah, I think too, like mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've fumbled the ball. I mean, as good of a game as Jordan Waters had, that was a weird cough up fumble where the guy literally took it out of his hand while he's running. You had the muff punt by Jalen. You had Jaquez fumbling. I would like to see us improve that ball control. Last year, we did. I don't. If I'm not mistaken, did we have a running back last year that gave up a fumble? I can't remember. A couple.
They had 2 fumbles on the season,
but that was it, and we've already had 2 from the running back.
The Jordan Waters fumble was a bit of a freakish type thing, like I don't know. That was just kind of a luck type thing.
I'm going to say something, and not as a crack to the defense, but the dropped interceptions that this team should have had, both with Lafayette and Clemson. I think there was, 2 or 3 balls that were thrown by Cade that should have been intercepted.
Jeremiah Lewis and Trey Freeman had them like literally in their hands.
Okay, so 2 there, and then I know Lafayette, there was a couple that were thrown that they got dropped as well. Don't get me wrong, the defenses play great, but just imagine had those balls been caught and the defense got got off the field, it could have been a whole different outcome.
We said the
Yeah.
two interceptions that were made in the Lafayette game by Miles Jones and Pickett were perfect high-pointed footballs that they went and got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were right there in great coverage and made great plays on both those opportunities.
I wonder if former coach DJ watches that secondary find the football and scratches his head. So sorry.
Yeah.
Regina also asked, can you discuss analytics? And to that, I would say no, because Coach Elko actually had to explain it to me, and the 2-point conversion we went to in Pittsburgh. So then I read a thesis about it.
Yeah, it's
I still don't understand it.
Yes, at Coach Mike Elko on Twitter, Regina.
Yeah, no. What's the rest of that question though? I saw that.
That was it. I kind of shortened it up.
Oh, okay, yeah. We are. I mean, analytics are tough with football. I know that like it's the new wave, and I understand like what the Ravens do. Like literally, their analytics guy has a beep in to like Harbaugh's ear on like every fourth down call and all that good stuff. We don't dig into it. We don't really honestly have access to the data like that. If we did, between Brian and Scott, I'm sure we would have a lot of opinions. We just don't have access to the data.
It's been a long day for me, so I'm out.
Yep.
All right. Well, I was joking about the 36 questions, but I think we did have 36 questions. Seriously, thank you all for those questions. Keep them coming as we progress through the season. We love to get more of your questions, but that's it. We're going to move on now to another one of our newest segments. It's This Week in Duke Football History. We've had two good Did You Knows for This Week in Duke Football History. So, Scott, I'm looking forward to hearing what we have for this week. Scott, take it away.
Give me 1 second.
Oh.
The computer is not cooperating with me.
Oh, technology fails us
You
again.
gotta love it, don't you? Got to love it. Yes.
At
All
your
right.
age.
Yeah, I know. An old man like me.
Okay, take two. Scott, take it away.
For This Week in Duke Football History, on September 13th, 2014, freshman running back Sean Wilson would set a then-school record for most rushing yards in a game, playing against Big 12 opponent Kansas. Wilson rushed for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns, helping Duke demolish Kansas 41-3. Duke would win 8 of their first 9 games in the 2014 campaign, eventually making it to the Sun Bowl. Wilson did all of his damage in only 12 attempts, averaging 20 yards a carry. With the performance, Wilson took down a 20-year record held by Robert Baldwin, who had 238 yards in a game against Maryland, the Twerps, in 1994. And that was This Week in Duke Football History, brought to you by Bull City Sheet Metal. If you're a contractor and need ductwork for your project, give them a call at 919-354-0993 or visit bullcitysheetmetal.com. They'll take any job and grab it by the horns. Unfortunately, Alabama can't grab anything by the horns, but
Hook 'em, baby, hook 'em.
Oh man,
I love it. Thank you, Scott. I remember that game. I remember that Kansas game.
Yes.
I mean, Sean Wilson, freshman, man, that was incredible. That yards per carry is just ridiculous. So,
I believe the coach is still getting paid for that, if I remember
yeah,
right.
yeah, that's true. Jamie's talking and he's muted. Yeah, guys, let's see how long he does that.
Oops.
Oh, amazing.
Jamie's like, they never listen to me.
I was just saying shout out to the Durham Bull, Robert Baldwin too.
That's right.
Mentioned in that.
That was
history.
that was a magical team in '94 for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for that, Scott. We always look forward to that every week. Thank you to Bull City Sheet Metal as well. And we'll move into our next segment, which is the weekly Tell the Tape. And Brian always adds a nice little Did You Know on the end. And this tells you everything that you need to know about the matchup between the Duke Blue Devils and the Northwestern Wildcats. Brian, take it away.
Thanks, Josh. Tell the tape. Northwestern Wildcats out of the Big Ten. Last year, Northwestern went 1-11 and did not make it to a bowl game. Shocking. Last week, Northwestern defeated UTEP 38-7, and they are currently 1-1. Interim head coach David Brom is in his 3rd game overall as the Wildcats head coach. Now, before becoming the interim head coach, Braun held assistant coaching positions at North Dakota State, Northern Iowa, and UC Davis. He also played as a defensive lineman for NAIA school Winona State. Now, overall, this is the 23rd matchup all time between Duke and Northwestern, with Duke leading the series matchup 12 wins to 10. The first ever meeting between Duke and Northwestern took place all the way back on September 7th, 1985 at Wallace Wade Stadium, where Duke defeated Northwestern 40 to 17. Last year, Duke defeated Northwestern in Evanston, Illinois in a classic battle 31 to 23. I remember watching that game thinking we might go down at the end, but then Duke prevailed. Now, overall, this is the third straight season that Duke and Northwestern have played, and this is the longest stretch since 1996, when the two schools had played each other 8 years in a row from 1996 until 2003. And then, as I said earlier, Duke and Northwestern will play next year as well in Evanston, Illinois, before the series goes back on hiatus. Now, the last time, now think about this, folks. The last time Northwestern defeated Duke in Wallace Wade Stadium, all the way back on September 19th, 2015, when they defeated the Blue Devils 19 to 10. Duke is on a 4-game winning streak currently in the series against Northwestern, having won the last 3 matchups 41 to 17 in 2017, 21 to 7 in 2018, and then 30 to 23 in 2021. And now it's time. Oh, I forgot last year's score, but there you have it. But it's now time for Did You Know? The Northwestern Clock Tower on campus has a unique way of letting fans and students know if the athletic teams are winning. The tradition began in 1995 when the football team, regarded as one of the best in program history, started making their run to go to the Rose Bowl. During the run, the school decided to have some fun and light the school's clock tower purple after a Wildcats win. The team went on a 9-game winning streak that year, and the school went a step further and decided to keep the clock tower purple during the streak. The clock tower would stay purple for 5 months straight leading up to the Rose Bowl. Unfortunately, the Wildcats would lose in the Rose Bowl to USC, and after the defeat, the clock tower turned back to white. Up until 2006, if the football team would win the last game of the season, the clock tower would stay purple the entire off season. However, in 2007, the decision to keep the clock tower purple in the off season was changed so the school could help promote other athletic teams winning big events, such as the women's lacrosse team winning the national title numerous seasons and the women's tennis team in 2006. So, if you're ever on Northwestern's campus and are wondering how their sports are doing, just take a quick look at the clock tower and you will know. And that was the tale of the tape for the Northwestern Wildcats, Josh.
Yeah, since we do not have a sponsor for that segment, well, that's still open.
Still waiting.
We do want to give a shout out to our overarching sponsor of the whole podcast here, Comfort Mechanical Contractors, that Brian mentioned at the beginning. But they do take care of all your commercial needs for HVAC contracting. They also do service. So if you're in the Triangle area and looking for good quality, honest work, hit them up, comfortmc.com. And so
Boy, we're all struggling tonight.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, hit them up. Tell Jamie that you heard about us. You heard about them on the podcast.
Jamie Hagler, not Jamie Holt.
Yeah, not our Jamie. Yeah. But yeah, no, appreciate that, Brian. Next time I go Northwestern and that clock tower's purple, I'm gonna be like, man, their women's tennis team must have just won. And so I'm excited.
Well, we might all be in Evanston next year. Just depends on when the schedule comes out. So
no doubt. So yeah, for sure. Well, this is a fun time, the segment of the podcast where we give our thoughts about what we think the score is going to be, what uniform combination Duke is going to use. But before we do that, we're going to find out who won. We had a on the dot winner for this past week. In fact, it's pretty unique. Not only was this guy on the dot on Twitter, but he is also 2 for 2. He won last week as well. So maybe somebody needs to get this guy to go get some scratch offs with him. We'll see. Tell us about it, Brian.
Yeah, no kidding. Timothy Gonzalez does it yet again. He predicted the score on the nose, 42-7 on Twitter. So Timothy, you not only have one shirt coming your way, you've now got 2 shirts coming your way. So congratulations. And you know what? 2. That's how they do it in Germany. But you know what? I'm going to sweeten the deal. Because you got the score right on the nose, we're going to throw in a free Section 17 helmet magnet that you can put on your refrigerator. So, Timothy, congratulations yet again. On Facebook, Michael Gallipo missed the prediction by 1 point. He predicted Duke to win 42-6. So, guys, congratulations. Keep those predictions coming. Timothy, if you keep winning, I don't know what we're going to be able to give you, bud. So you might need to take a break or two or a week or two off.
Yeah, pick the opposing team or something. So you
Yeah,
won't
there you
get it.
go.
But
God,
no, that's awesome. So let's talk about what we think, guys. We got Northwestern coming in. As Brian mentioned, they're 1-1. They lost to Rutgers. They beat UTEP. Not really sure what that means. As we talked to Dave Ennett about, there's a lot of overreactions that happen in the first couple of weeks of college football. So we're really not sure what we're going to see on Saturday. The line is at 19.5 as of the time.
18.5. It went
It's back down to 18.5. Started at 18.5 and bumped up to 19.5. It's back down to 18.5 now. And so Vegas sees Duke as big winners. But what do we think? Who wants to go first? Brian, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll take the lead just to help you guys out. The over-under is 46.5 points, too, so something to think about for your score. I do have Duke winning this. I predicted Duke to win in the preseason predictions episode. I just think this is a Northwestern team that's got a lot of questions and answers, especially with everything that's been going on since Pat Fitzgerald got let go. I do have Duke winning 35-14, so I'm taking the over on the points. As well as Duke going over the 18.5 points they were given. As far as the combination, I thought about this, and I'm pretty sure Duke always goes blue top with blue helmet and a white bottom. I don't see that changing against Northwestern. As far as what's on the helmet, I'm kind of alluding to it with what I'm wearing. Fellas, I think it's gonna be time. Let's bring out the Hellraiser. So give me blue top with the white Hellraiser. Have not seen that since, when did I say it was? Like 2016. What a better time to bring it back out. So blue, white. Duke wins 35-14. Who's next?
Oh, I guess I'll go next. I obviously picked Duke to win. I do think Duke's going to end up winning. I'm with the over also. I don't like that number. I think it's going to be more than that. I think Duke 38-17. I do agree with Brian as far as the jersey combination. I think as far as the helmet, with it being military appreciation, I know I'm going to be completely wrong, and that's okay. I'm used to that 9 out of 10 times. I really would love to see the D with the stars and stripes in it. Now, will they do that? I don't think they've ever done it, so it would be really cool to see.
So a patriotic big D.
Patriotic big D.
There we go. All right.
Which I think would be perfect. I mean, I would like to obviously see something with some camo in it, but that's just me. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so
Did you
said
finish it?
You said blue. You're going blue.
Well, yeah, blue helmet. I guess with the. I didn't think about that. I don't know which D that would be with the.
Do you want us to come back to you so you can think of what D is going to be on the helmet?
Let's just say, well, if I'm going to do blue helmet, let's just say white helmet with the blue D.
Big or small?
I would assume the big.
The big blue D.
I mean, if they're going to wear the helmets, I would assume they're going to wear the big D.
Okay, got it.
Y'all ready for me?
Yeah.
I have no idea what Scott just.
I don't know either.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to be close or right at all. So really, at this point, it doesn't matter.
So to bring some clarity to this, I'm going to go vanilla. We're going white helmet with the blue D, blue tops, white pants. The classic Duke.
Okay.
White, blue, white with the blue, big blue D. Duke is going to win this game, and they're going to win this game 43-21. 43-21. I believe, as we've spoken about on this episode, I do believe this is going to be the first time where Kevin Johns is going to actually be able to run the offense the way he wants to run it. Open that playbook, exactly. Clemson, they were not really able to do that because of just the caliber of the opponent. And then same thing on the other end of the spectrum. They were not able to do it because of weather and the lack of the opponent this past Saturday. So this will be the first time, and I think you're going to see Riley Leonard flourish. I think you're going to see some deep balls to guys like Jalen and Jomo and Samir. I think we're going to have a really good day throwing the ball. So
Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh boy, group chat right as I'm getting ready to start, of course. Uniforms. I don't really know. Blue, white. With the large white D.
There you go.
Large white D.
Large and in charge.
As far as the game is concerned, I agree with the guys here. I think Duke's going to be able to open it up. I think Northwestern's going to struggle. I think we win big, 38-10. Northwestern goes home crying.
nice.
And we cover at every one of the scores, and we do the over.
Yep. I think the over is easy money.
Yeah, I think that's easy one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's always a fun segment. We want you to be a part of it. If you listen to this podcast, we want you to go on Twitter. I believe it's on Thursday that we typically put that out. Please wait until we put that tweet out or that Facebook post or that Instagram post out. Comment underneath it so we can track it easier. If you don't comment underneath it, there's no guarantee we're going to see it. So if you could help us out by doing that, we want to hear from you what you think. I do want to encourage you, if you don't yet, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Duke FB Talk. You can search Duke Football Talk on Facebook to find our Facebook group. You can go to DukeFootballTalk.com to see all of our articles, to see our helmet stickers, to find our podcast, and then obviously YouTube. We're on YouTube now. We want to thank all of our YouTube subscribers. If you have not subscribed yet, will you please stop it, pause it right now, subscribe to our channel, like the episode, comment. We'll do our best to comment back and forth. But we've been pleasantly surprised and so appreciative of our YouTube subscribers and those that are watching there. And then on Apple Podcast, if you'd rate and review, that would really help us out. If we've done a good job and you appreciate the time and energy and effort that we put into this, would you give us a 5-star rating and review? And then on Spotify, the same thing. So we want to encourage you all to do that. You guys are awesome. We love hanging out with you. If you don't have anywhere to sit at a game, especially if you're by yourself or whatever, come up and sit with us. We're growing that Section 17 top row. And so come and hang with us. We have a great time during the game. And we'll try to keep things entertaining. So really do appreciate all of you guys and being friends with us and then ultimately supporting this Duke football program, because that's really what it's all about.
I want to say one more thing real fast. Look, folks, we need people to be there for the game Saturday. We need there for all the home games and everything like that. If you're a Duke employee, they sent you an email this afternoon that made tickets very easily accessible for you. If you're not a Duke employee, tickets are still out there. Find them. We need to have as many people wearing blue as we can. These kids deserve it. I mean, this is my soapbox that I'll stand on all season if I have to. These kids are not kids, they're adults. These grown men wearing Duke uniforms need the support. And that's what we need to do as fans. We need to support these guys. They had the support for Clemson. They went out there and slapped Clemson around like a rented mule. They did the same thing to Lafayette. We're going to do the same thing this Saturday to Northwestern. So, look, it would be more fun to watch it inside the stadium because it's a whole lot more fun there than it is sitting at home watching it on television. Even though Spectrum finally got back, praise Jesus, hallelujah, amen. And I'm going to have to pay $35 more a month now just to watch the games, but whatever, praise the hallelujah and I love glory.
You done?
Okay. That was the end.
I was waiting for you to get off the soapbox and you just kind of cut it off. But boy, this has been a fun episode. You're going to get a lot of laughs if you've made it all the way. We're an hour and 9. It's probably going to be roughly around an hour and a half because we insert Dave's interview after post production. So if you've made it this far, thank you. We hope you've gotten a good laugh out of our stupidity with our group chat that we have while we're recording. It's always a good time. Just to echo what Scott said, we hope to see as many of you there this Saturday. Don't know if there's any details of as far as the tailgate with the hard hat guys, but if we do get any more information, we will certainly put it out there. Again, we hope to see as many of you, even at the tailgate. If you can come early, it'd be great to hang out with a whole bunch of you as we cheer the Devils to hopefully another win against Northwestern.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, one of the social posts that we're putting out every week, typically on Friday, is our timeline for Saturday. And so we'll give you all the details there for what you'll need to know. But we're going to be doing breakfast. I know. Scott, do you have some intel on that?
No, what I was going to make a comment that I just remember when you mentioned the timeline. If you're going to come, if you're interested in buying shirts or doing anything, please come before the Blue Devil Walk.
Yep.
Because once the Blue Devil Walk happens, we do not go back to the tailgate.
We out.
We go straight over to the entrance to get into the game. So just, for those of you that may show up a little bit later, as soon as the Blue Devil Walk will be,
or you can come after the game.
yeah,
if
you
you
can
wanna
come after
wait
the game
around.
also.
Hopefully Scott doesn't go back to the medical room because they're going to rename it after him if he does.
Hey, I'm in the AC. I'm media this week, so.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The Scott Medlin medical room.
We do it out of fun, buddy. We love
They're
you.
going to hang my picture right there. It's going to be beautiful.
The Ronnie Medlin.
Oh, you've left Scott speechless. Look, I think that's a great segue to close it out because
It's going to be quiet.
Yeah, you've had your balls busted all night long, Scott. Apologies, but you know what? It's for the fans. They have they have a good laugh. But listen, another episode is in the books. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in, for watching us, for listening to us. And as we stated, we hope to see as many of you as possible for Northwestern and Duke 3:30 ACC Network. But for Josh Cox, for Jamie Holt, for Scott Medlin, and producer Justin Sykes, I'm Brian Kennedy, and this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.
Now turn the music up.